Hello and welcome to another edition of Around the Ice on Fantasy and Frames. I'm your host, JT, along with Toast and Aaron. We are talking week 8 Around the Ice this week. Only a couple games on tonight, but we're going to preview some of the games that are also on tomorrow. We're going to get you your betting news, what's happening with injuries, those types of things. And hey, got a couple new segments we're going to try out tonight, so stick with us here on Around the Ice on Fantasy and Frames. Hey, fellas, welcome in. It is Thanksgiving week. We're trying to get all these shows in. Things got a little crazy last week. We missed you last week. My apologies. My computer went down on me. It was a nightmare. Missed a bunch of shows last week. Had to push other shows back. It's kind of crazy, but we are sneaking in a Thanksgiving show for you guys before this weekend gets going. Only 2 games tonight, but a ton of action tomorrow. So if you're waiting on Thursday for the football games, you got a ton to do tomorrow night if you're prepping the turkeys, if you're getting everything ready for dinner, or if you're getting dinner early. I know a lot of people do a Wednesday and Thursday Thanksgiving dinner, try to hit up a couple of the relatives' houses, everything else. You're going to have plenty of hockey action to watch. Let's jump in to our first segment here, fellas, Around the Ice. Tonight we had 2 games in progress. One is now, if I'm pulling it up, was just getting ready to go to OT. Then we had another game that was getting into the finals. We just have a final. Utah Hockey Club does win it 3-2 over the Montreal Canadiens in overtime. And we got about 15 seconds left. This game's about over. Vancouver currently up 1-0. Boston trying to get off a flurry of shots here at the end and tie this thing up. Guys, let's talk a little bit about these 2 games, and then we'll get into tomorrow's action. It looks like the Canucks just scored on an empty netter to win it 2-0. Connor Garland able to back up the Jake DeBrusk goal early on. Garland and Hughes with the assist in that one, and it's a 2-0 Vancouver win. So we've gone final in the 2 games we've got tonight. I think you said 15 games of action tomorrow, so all kinds of good stuff tomorrow. Anything jump out to you guys here in the first couple games tonight?
JT, Aaron, I'll start here talking maybe about this Vancouver and Boston game, that 6 p.m. start. Normally we wouldn't have just 2 games right on a Tuesday slate. We kind of have this show on a certain night where we know the slate's going to be pretty heavy. There'll be plenty to talk about, but with the American Thanksgiving here this week, it just kind of throws off the schedule a little bit. But the Vancouver and Boston, interesting game because man, Boston fired Jim Montgomery, last week. And then St. Louis, they turned back around and actually hired the guy. He was only maybe out of work for, 4 days, something like that. Joe Sacco comes into Boston, takes over from Montgomery, and he won his first 2 games. At 1-0 versus Utah, 2-1 versus Detroit. And then really, if you look at the Canucks they've lost their last 4 games against Boston, and 6 out of their last 7 actually playing Boston as well. But the Canucks 7-1 record on the road this season. They just improve on that tonight. Now they're 8-1. So tonight, I'll get into eventually my play. We'll save that for our next segment here on basically the gambling segment anyway. But just what you want to know is Vancouver and Boston. The last 5 out of the last 6 games have gone to the under 5.5. And Vancouver, they've really, along with Boston as well, nobody's really shooting the puck. And nobody's really given up a lot of shots either. So, I expect this to be a low-scoring game. That's what we'll talk about in the gambling segment, along with some other stuff. And what it's a 2-0 final.
Yeah, I mean, a real snooze fest in that one. I like the stats on the under with these 2. It seems to be, again, there's some history behind these 2. Of course, in the I'm going to get my years mixed up here. Last time Boston won the Cup was 17, 18, I can't remember. went 7 games with Vancouver. So there's and of course Vancouver tore down their city again. Every time they make it to the playoff or make it to the finals, they tend to riot. So very sensitive fan base there. But they this kind of rivalry has carried over. Neither team fully committing to the rebuild. We've talked about that many times in prior pods. They're both kind of a rolling rebuild. And then the spark that Vancouver got, of course, with Tocchet and some of that talent he's got. We talked about Petty, Pedersen a few times on his slow start. He's starting to put some pucks in net. So
He's coming on.
yeah, he is, which is great. Some report out there about his social media. He was watching and listening to too many of the critics, and he just deleted everything. So one thing that I think we can all say, and the 3 of us being in the relatively same age group, I know I've certainly thought about it. I'm just going to shut it all down. Not that anybody's saying anything, but just get away from it all. And he did that, and it's made a difference. So good on him. But yeah, just a real snooze fest. I saw this, and again, I'll save it for the betting segment. The only thing that jumped out today, so I'm gonna talk about what never do. It's easy to say in hindsight, of course, but this was DeBrusque, who played for quite a few years in Boston. His first time back in Boston, playing for Vancouver, and caught him on an anytime goal. Just felt like it was one of those that he played, and he had some good years there in Boston. So of course he put what ended up being the game-winning goal in, and caught that at a plus 220. So
Nice.
Good, and I feel good about that going into, again, when we talk about a little bit more break down some of the bets for tomorrow's games too. A little bit more on that, but yeah, just interesting to fire Monty, very popular coach. But I think Boston is, you can't fire your players that are under contract, so had to do something. And then, like you said, Toast, the Blues snatch them right up. So the Blues, they dick around in the off season, and all those 2 guys, now they're snatching up coaches. Somebody's leftovers. So what's next for them? Who knows? We'll find out. But they tend to always surprise us with their I don't know what you would call it, their unpredictability. Man, I hate that team. But anyway, that's all I got on the Boston Vancouver.
Yeah, and JT, we'll cover real quick the Utah Montreal game just by saying ditto. If you anticipated a snoozer on this game, for the most part, that's exactly kind of what you got. If you look at the shots on goal and everything, these are both.
Yeah, tell us how about that 13 shots on goal by the Canadians. 13 shots. My goodness.
And that's the Canadians right now. And Utah, honestly, hasn't been that much better. Vancouver, Boston, Utah, and Montreal, for the statistics as far as actually shots for and shots against, they're about mirroring one another. They're all bad at it. I mean, so they don't shoot. They don't give up much. They're actually playing between the blue lines the entire time. And this is kind of what you got tonight. But we'll talk a little bit more on that again in the gambling segment, because some that were put together tonight. I think Toast takes are looking pretty good tonight. Not bad at all.
Well done.
Yeah, any games we can kind of mirror this gambling segment with you around the ice. Any big games you're looking forward tomorrow night? We got Red Wings versus the Flames, Blackhawks against the Stars, Wild versus the Sabre, Hurricanes, Rangers is probably one of the big ones for people. Blues, Devils, Bruins, Islanders, Canucks back at it against the Penguins, Capitals, Lightning, which should be an interesting one. Big Maple Leafs, Panthers game, Canadians, Blue Jackets, Flyers, Predators, Jets, Kings, Golden Knights, Avalanche, Kraken, Ducks, and Sharks, Senators for the late night game to finish it off for us.
I am actually looking forward to 2 games on the slate. Don't have to go into detail about both of them, but just know that right now the Blue Jackets, man, they're really playing good hockey. They're putting up a ton of goals as well. We just said the Canadians can't shoot the puck. And what you know, they're going to play back-to-back. They're actually going to go into Columbus tomorrow night and actually play. When I say a red-hot Blue Jackets team, meaning red-hot scoring the puck. And I'm just looking forward to seeing what the Blue Jackets actually do against a Canadians team that's not very good at all. And I just have a feeling that the Blue Jackets, we'll have to kind of see it tomorrow. The over 3.5 goals scored for the Blue Jackets, if you can get that at plus money, may just jump all over that. That would be something I'd really watch. And then the other one I actually interested in is the Rangers at the Hurricanes, man. The Rangers are right now, they're in the process of, actually, rumor has it, making some really tough calls. There may be some veterans on the move. They're actually wanting to shake it up a little bit because they're not where they actually want to be. The continuity is not there. And what you know, the Hurricanes, they just keep winning without any goaltenders at all. Everybody's hurt, so but they keep winning. And the Hurricanes are actually scoring more goals than they normally do, and they've actually found some offensive firepower, which is really exciting. So I also tomorrow like the over on the Rangers Hurricanes game as well.
Toast, I was going to say with that Blue Jackets game, 4 out of the last 5 games, there are 5 of more goals in every game for the Blue Jackets. They've won 4 out of 5. The only game they lost was the Canadiens, 5-1. 3 games ago was the only game they haven't scored at least 5. They beat Pittsburgh 6-2, Boston 5-1, Tampa Bay 7-6, and Carolina 5-4. So this is, like you said, this is a team that is putting the puck in the net with only one, and it was against Montreal. See if they can bounce back at home. Like you said, with Montreal and back-to-back nights, maybe this is a good time to jump on the Blue Jackets.
I'm liking it.
Aaron, anything jumping out to you in tomorrow's slate? You got your eye on?
Yes. And kind of what I've done. So we have talked about it a couple of pods now about how the betting season is this, that, and the other. That continues. So what do you do about it? Instead of just keep reloading these accounts over and over, I'm going to go back to basics. And we kind of talked about it before we started the pod. I think, Toast, you said it, which it was funny. It's like you're reading my mind. I'm just going back to games. Who's playing good team hockey? Who's winning at home? Who's winning on the road? Let's do that, and then we can mature back into the player props, because the player props are fun. It's fun to root for, goals to be scored. No one would, unless you this team game and this defensive game, it just sucks to play the under. And you can say that about any sport. I don't care what the sport. It sucks to not want people to score. So just got to get back into that team game. So right on the momentum tonight, Vancouver with that amazing now 8-1 road record. They had that little warm up today with Boston, again, the snooze fest, but they go into Pittsburgh, and Pittsburgh, you talk about team hockey, might be a new concept to those guys. Outside of Sid the Kid and Malkin, and they just keep getting these milestone, goals. They stink. Carlson can't skate backwards. Letang can't hold on to the puck. Again, not to kick them while they're down, but that's exactly what I'm doing. But I just don't see much of a plan there. I don't see any. Now's the time to cash in on that. So Vancouver with the hot hand, a little warm up today with Boston. You got all these games. So I'm going to give Pittsburgh at home a goal and a half. I'm going to lay down the goal and a half and taking Vancouver for the win. Then I rolled it into a parlay with the late night game, which again, this is another thing I swore I'd never do, but I got to do something to change it up. But I've got an early game and I've got a late game, and a lot of time in between to sit there and mull over it. But especially if that early one hits, I guess if they don't hit, then I'm out and I won't care. I can just go right to bed. But the Winnipeg Jets and the LA Kings, I got the Winnipeg. They're 7-3 in their last 10 games. You think, God, 7-3, that's great. But on the year, they've only lost 4 games. So for them, that kind of sucks. 7-3 sucks. It's crazy. They're so good. LA is all defense. They can't score. Hellebuck's in net. So I think it'll be a low-scoring affair, and it's going to just go to the Winnipeg in regulation, or again in hockey is known as the three-way bet. So parlayed those two together. Let's see what the final odds were on that. Plus 608. So
nice.
Again, chip in a chair. I'm down to my I'm pretty thin on DraftKings, so we'll see. That could, if I pick that one up, that'll get me back in the game.
Nice host. This is our bet, and we'll just rotate it right into the gambling segment. We have this pay that man his money. Do you have any
Pay
bets going
that
tonight on
man
these
his
early games?
money.
Yeah, you got any bets going on tonight, or ones you like, Aaron? I like that one for tomorrow. That's a nice little one. I might have to jump on there and tell you on that one.
Yeah, this is a little bit of a different segment tonight, JT, because we don't really have any games to talk about for our 9 o'clock segment coming up that we're actually liking. But what I really want to do is just talk about some of the bets I did actually place underneath Toast Takes and put that online tonight on the X at Toast Clark. The bets I actually liked were both unders. The unders in both of these games tonight. And I'm happy to actually report that both the unders actually went. And I also went Swayman. And again, you can find these. I posted them around 5:30. It's a little bit late posting them tonight. But Swayman under 25.5 saves. I believe he only actually had like 13 saves, something like that tonight.
13. It was 13 saves. You're right on.
And then I also Veshmelka, goalie for Utah as well. I took him the under 24.5 saves, and I believe he only had like 11 saves. I mean, so all of the Toast Takes actually went. I actually had both the unders on the goalie saves. However, as I normally do, is I did not take my own advice. And I actually went ahead and placed something slightly different because the platform I was actually using would not allow such parlays for prop betting as well. So what I did is I went on Vancouver money line, check, that went. Vancouver Boston, and I meant to actually put under 5.5 total goals, and I accidentally put in over 5.5 total goals. Knowing this was actually going to be a low scoring game, I took the Utah and Montreal under 6 total goals. That was a 3-2 finish and went. But I've been redeemed because along with that parlay, the 4-legger, I had Montreal on the money line, and guess what? Utah beat them. So I'm a little vindicated, right? Because it wasn't my mistake, didn't cost me. It wouldn't have actually went anyway. But that 4-leg bet put together on JT, that the site that you and I actually use, it was risking 25 to win 400. So all in all, very, very good night. Not a whole lot of money to actually show for it, but if you add up all of the bets on Toast Takes, as well as actually my parlay of the day, we're probably hitting around an 85 to 90% clip.
Nice. Not too shabby for a low night. Not a lot to choose from, but some nice ones there, Toast. I like where your head's at on that one. Anything else we like for tomorrow bets? I think, Aaron, you said you had one, right? You had DeBrusque anytime goal in that Vancouver game, correct?
Yeah, I did have that, and that's just going to finance the bet that that little parlay I threw together for tomorrow. So yeah, I was literally down to nothing, and when he pumped that goal in, and he did it pretty quick, hey, it's. But yeah, you talk about polishing a turd. There's nothing to bet tonight, so you just you stretched it out there on the Toast Takes, and then and then DeBrusque burying one against his former team and his former city. So fingers crossed going in tomorrow.
And what I'll say as well. So sorry, Aaron, I didn't mean to cut you off there. I really was talking to Aaron before the pod started and making a concerted effort here to get away from maybe a little bit of the prop betting. I almost fell in love with the prop bets and in love with the prop bets as parlays. And what's happening is you're hitting at a 75% clip for the season, but you're not winning anything. So it's time to kind of get back to basics. It's time to actually start looking at more money lines, more first period over-unders, more trends as far as it actually goes, as far as total goals scored in games as well. The data that you can really have more control over. And the prop betting is really more volatile, and the line betting is a little bit more predictable, especially this time in the season when we're actually good 22, 23, 24 games in. We're starting to learn who teams are. Tonight, I simply just kind of went into watch a ton of hockey on a nightly basis. However, just go to hockeyreference.com, actually pull up the league summary for the season, go to team statistics, and find out specifically who's shooting a puck, who's not shooting a puck, who's giving up shots, who's not giving up shots, and actually just look at the trending of actually where they're going and who they're playing, and just make a best educated guess from there on. And that's where you can really, the only prop bet you can maybe pull in to go with game lines is really goalie props on saves. Because if you know it's going to be low scoring and you're going to go ahead and go with, let's say, the under, then you can might as well go ahead and look at the under on the saves for the goalies as well. And that's exactly what happened tonight.
I'm going to switch things up just a bit here, fellas. We're going to get down to our Let's Make a Deal segment because we got a question here. So we got a question coming in from, we'll plot up here. Unreal Backing 19 says top players to trade for. If you're in a, we'll talk a little bit about redraft. We'll talk about some dynasty and stuff here, but let's just jump in here. Thanks, Backy, for the question. We really appreciate it. Let's jump into our Let's Make a Deal segment. Any guys you guys are out there looking to make deals on, or any recent trades that you've been able to do in any of your leagues, or ones you've seen kind of go through? What are we looking at, fellas?
Well, I think, JT, this is maybe a two-pronged question here. Is first, I think his question is what top players are you really trading for right now?
Mm-hmm.
So let's start with that. I do actually have a trade scenario I actually wanted to kind of pitch out there. But it may be a little bit easier to kind of say who should you actually be trading rather than actually who should be trading for. We, in our last segment, we talked about the sell high opportunities of a lot of different players actually playing well over their expected rate of return, so to speak. Really a player right now that I actually think you could potentially trade for is a Jesper Bratt out of New Jersey. He's only 26 years old, and they have so many mouths to feed over in New Jersey. He's going to play quote unquote second fiddle to a guy like Jack Hughes. But really, if you look at it, Jesper Bratt's the guy that actually makes that he's making that go. He's actually tearing it up in the goals and the assists and the shots on goal as well. He may be high to actually, it may take a lot to actually go grab a guy like that, but he's not considered, let's say, a household name or one of those top 20 players in the NHL, but he's playing like one. And last year, at the end of the year, he was playing like one as well. And given his age and where he's at, only 26 years old, it's a guy that probably is actually moving closer and closer to that superstar status of being a top 10 player in the league, 12, 15 player in the league, because he's playing like it. So he kind of stands out as, if you want to eyeball somebody who's kind of maybe laying in the weeds, whatever, and they're like, hey, what are you saying, Jesper Bratt? You're laying in the weeds. But again, accustomed to who's actually, compared to who he's playing with, he's the exact type of guy you actually want to go out and get. Now, let's see. I want to go ahead and talk about a trade scenario, guys. And I like this segment we're going to have, and we call it Let's Make a Deal. It's where Aaron and JT and I are actually going to maybe bring forth a trade that's actually either been proposed or actually been made and finalized in one of the leagues that we're in. We're on many discords for the different leagues that we're in, and trade proposals and trades that have actually occurred happen on a weekly basis, so we want to actually bring those to the listeners, and it may just fit in one of your scenarios, whether you're actually in regards to the format, right? But so let's talk about this trade here, and I want to get Aaron, JT, I want to get your guys' opinion on this, but also maybe we can actually get the listeners' opinion as well. But the format for this trade is a redraft league. It's a points league, head-to-head points, and you got standard scoring. So there's nothing really that stands out as far as moving the needle one way or another. Here's Team A. Team A gets Matthew Tkachuk, Steven Stamkos, and the goalie Vesmelka, who actually won tonight for Utah. That's Team A. Team B is getting Robertson from Dallas, Dylan Guenther, who actually scored a goal tonight, Utah, and Linus Ullmark from Ottawa, who has been dog shit. To me, this is a trade where you're actually trading slumping players for other slumping players. And they haven't been awful, but they haven't lived up to expectations, what we're actually accustomed to. To me, I do like Team A better, where you're getting Matthew Tkachuk, Steven Stamkos, and Vejmelka, and you're giving up Robertson, Gunther, and Ullmark. What's your guys' opinion on that one? And I'd like some debate here, Aaron. I mean, if you like Robertson and Gunther, Ullmark, let's hear it.
Yeah, I mean that's my gut goes there because it I don't know what's going on with Robertson. I happen to have him in our Dynasty league, so I don't know. He seems to, much like Pedersen, hot and cold. He runs hot and cold. He runs in streaks. Just doesn't have the consistency I'd like to see. I just, at one point in his career, he's flirting with 50 goals. I just don't see that anymore. But Gunther, I like Gunther a lot. He shoots the puck a lot. It's hard to say. I think what tips the scales though is Chucky is Matthew Tkachuk. Again, depending on your format, he's not out to the start this year that he normally is, but getting a guy like that, but I'm still going to lean towards Team B. I think Team B, you get the young gun with Gunther and Robinson, and I'm as much as Tkachuk I think that's your best overall player you've got in that scenario. I think Stamkos just stinks. He's just, I don't know. He doesn't have the guys that can pass the puck that he had in Tampa Bay. He doesn't have Braden Point, and probably even worse, doesn't have Kucherov. And those are two are in my opinion, two world-class players. You got Philippe Forsberg, but he's trying to get his shots. Nobody's sending those passes over to Stamkos, so he's dead weight. He's over. I just don't know enough about the goalie to really say that, but I it's not a fleecing either way you look at it, Team A or Team B. It's not a ripoff. It's pretty much like you said. It's pretty much slumping players for slumping players. I just see a little bit more upside there with Team B.
Yeah, the only thing that worries me about this Team B with Robertson, Guenther, and Ullmark, it really comes down to Robertson. The same thing happened last year. Where it just I don't know. He's not the player we actually expected after he had that breakout season, like 106 points 2 years ago. Right. Last year he cooled off. This year, again, that Robertson hints, and now they don't have Pavelski, right? And the whole Dallas team is so unbelievably balanced from an NHL perspective of actually win now, where he doesn't need to go in and just light it out because they're so unbelievably good. I do believe that Matthew Tkachuk, he started slow last year. He started slow the year before. And then, man, he just came on like a ball of fire. You got to think that there's going to be a little bit more of that as well. I mean, he's only got 5 power play points right now. He's only shot the puck 48 times, which is kind of concerning. So he's not quite shooting it, but 2.5 shots a game. You got to think that they're going to find that continuity that they actually had, especially on the power play where Barkov, Tkachuk, and Reinhart are actually getting points in bunches. It's going to happen. I can't say the same for Dallas. I just can't. But Stamkos, I disagree with you on that. So all in all, I think this is a pretty even trade. Yeah. I tend to actually lean more Team A, but I could definitely understand if somebody actually preferred Team B as well.
Yeah, I agree with you guys. I'm leaning Team A. For Tkachuk is the reason for me. I like Tkachuk. Even though he's been a little slow, I just think he's got the highest upside here. I do think Robertson with Gunther is nice if you need a little more depth, because Stamkos is really kind of killing you right now. If you got him in your lineup, you're like, oh, am I going to get anything from him? And now you're worried about is he done? Can he rebound at some point during the season, or is it just like, oh man, he's on Nashville, they're bad, he's going to be bad, and you got to get out while you can from under him. I'm leaning Tkachuk just because I think he's the best player in this one. I feel like he's got the highest upside, but long term, especially if I'm rebuilding and I want some younger guys to fill some more spots, I'm probably going Robertson, Gunther here. and B. But A is my pick, but I can definitely see A or B for different scenarios. So I think that's a good one, Toast. That's a good option.
Yeah.
It's a pretty close trade.
Yeah, and Kachuk's also left wing, right wing eligible in many leagues, and Stamkos is actually in some leagues is actually getting try eligibility. Think about that as well as if you actually are counting positions, that does actually matter as well. This definitely was a redraft league for me. Having the redraft league and no keepers, the Dylan Guenther move wasn't as spicy as it normally would have actually been, just because you're not keeping him. It's only a one. But if you're right, if this was a dynasty or even a keeper league, then definitely you got to really think that maybe B did actually have the better trade. But this is a good one, and actually we want to bring these to you guys every single week where we get this healthy debate. And I'm hoping that JT, Aaron, and we don't agree every single week, and maybe we can actually have these in some healthy debate, and maybe even get pissed off a little bit, which is fine. We need a little bit of that to kind of bring out the personality.
I just want to yell at you, JT. He's like, I just
that's
all I want to do anyway.
We're gonna end up. We're gonna
trades out there. Feel free to send us the trades. Hit us up. We can, especially if you got trades that you want to talk about either on the pod or you want us to just poll, like get it out there and see what people would vote on. I have people do that with me all the time in leagues. Like, hey, can you post this one up? See what people vote for. I want to see if they think I'm close or if I'm getting worked in this trade. So always feel free to send it to me at JT Orange, at Titch4141, or at Toast Clark. Any of us, and we'll re-throw that up on Fantasy and Frames. We'll throw it up on the Around the Ice. We'll do all that. So feel free to hit us over there. Toast, you got any more on Let's Make a Deal? You guys ready to head to the next one?
Yeah,
I got two quick things on Let's Make a Deal. Number one, I love this because this is gonna, what this is gonna lead to, where we're disagreeing is really bad bets, really heat of the moment bets. So we're all gonna lose a lot of money. Or maybe win, I don't know, and then or one of us is going to end up with a tattoo out of this, like the tattoo bet. Well, I'll get a tattoo. It's going to get out of control quick. So you're setting the precedent. It's going to get dangerous. But the other thing I wanted to talk to you real quick, we had that question come in, and just real top of mind, like who would I trade for? I would say this across the board, whether you're in a cat league, a redraft league, dynasty league. Dynasty league, you're probably not going to get this because you're going to have to give up too much, but Max Celebrini shooting the puck a lot. I would target him in a redraft league. He's drafted. He's going to be on a roster, but I would target him because he's kind of changing his game. He had that injury after the first game. It was a lower body injury. He looks really good right now. Those San Jose games are late games, so you can catch them. Fun to watch, kind of like how Connor McDavid, when he first got in the league. I like getting those West Coast guys because you can catch the game. So I definitely target him. And then I target the guy that no one knows what it's got to be. I guess I don't know what he keeps entering the NHL Players Assistance Program, but Valerie Nishtuskin, who is back. Just put in his first goal, but he's on most rosters on Fantrax. He's about on 80% of rosters, so people did draft him. If he's in, again, depending on your format, but I would probably take a look at this guy. Colorado did pretty well without him. He's a big body guy. He skates well. He plays fast. He's north-south skater. And people just don't know if today's his last. I would target him. I don't think you're going to have to spend a whole lot. You could even, and again, depending on your format, if you're in a, let's say you're in a dynasty league, throw a second round pick for next year for him. Just see if it, just offer something super low because he's only put the one goal in, a few assists, but Colorado played very well. Inserting this guy, he already fits in. He knows the room. There's some risk there because you don't know what the problems are. I mean, and they shouldn't make that stuff public. Obviously, if he's struggling with something, let him do that. He's doing the right thing by entering a program, so good for him. I hope he's back. I hope he never misses another game. But those two guys I target right now, no matter your format. That's all I got on that.
Yeah, Aaron, I thought you were going to say, hey, go get Ivan. I'm like, hey, I'm there.
That's just awesome.
Colorado phenom Ivan. I'm like, damn, he's been scoring some goals too. So
he has. Maybe he might find a way to stick around. That's
yeah. I'm gonna go pick him. I'm gonna go pick him up.
You should.
What do you guys want to get in some Banger League talk? Let's do it. Let's get into some Banger League talk. Let's bang, baby. Let's talk about our Bangers League. Let's get into it. What's going on in the home Bangers League? What do we got now? I know, Aaron, you are on an absolute tear. My
Dude, look
team is
out.
absolutely week to week. I put up one of the top scores every week, or I fall apart. I'm 3-4. Just went from tied for second to last because our league is so close together at 4-3 or 3-4. We had everybody felt like tied at 3-3, other than Toast and the last place guy, Freddie, in our league. Everybody else was 3-3 last week. It's been close throughout. I got knocked off yet again, as I can't seem to score good back-to-back weeks. But talking a little bit about the tear your team's on, is you were making a run as you're up to 4-3 now, up to second place in the league.
Yeah, it's been a good ride. Essentially, what happened was I caught fire with Ovi. Ovi goes down with injury, and McDavid looks like McDavid that we've known. Again, he was first pick, so you can never go wrong there when you got the 1-1 pick, and it's Connor McDavid there. Slow start aside, so that's really what it boils down to. But again, given the format, we've said it to death. We all know and love the Banger League, but a couple of pickups too. Connor McMichael off of Washington, who has again, he's that classic power forward. He's getting on the board. He gets some hits. So again, just fits our profile of that banger league. And then Mateau Olivier. We talked about Columbus a little bit at the top of the pod here. We talked about how they're back to 500. They're playing well. But Olivier, he's 66 hits, 27 block shots for a forward. Go along with 6 goals and 3 assists, and then 35 penalty minutes. Now, again, in a Bangers League, he's getting points on all of those. Right now, he's on a tear. He's probably about 3.5, 4 points a game when he doesn't show up on the score sheet. By the score sheet, I mean the goals and assists. You throw in a goal or an assist, and he's a 10-point game player when he does show up. And he's been around. He's 27 years old, so he's not going to score 30 goals. His goals is he's probably going to beat his career high. I think it's 11 or might be 12. But anyway, he's making big fights too. So when the heavyweight comes into town, last year he fought Rimpey and he absolutely dummied him. Just pumped his eyes shut, just kicked his ass. It was the first time that Rimpey lost, and he got cut. Everybody thought he was, untouchable. And then earlier this year, fought Zekai from Montreal, which was pretty good tilt. But he's taking on people's heavyweights. He's coming up in the score sheet. So Olivier there, and then the last guy, he's not on my team. I mean, that kind of wraps up the little hot streak, but that Connor McMichael and Olivier have definitely kept things going. So when I'm not, somebody's not getting the scores, or Ovi goes down with injury, these guys have stepped in. But last thing I'll say on this Bangers portion here is just a guy that he again, strict Bangers League, but you got to look pretty close to home here on the Hawks. Alex Vlasic is a giant. He's 6'6", 220, I think. Right now, the most teams are having their way with our beloved Blackhawks. They're just shooting the shit out of the puck and just putting tons of shots. Well, this lanky guy, he's out there. Even if he doesn't mean to, these pucks are hitting him. So he's a good one to pick up. Again, in that Bangers League redraft, you're just looking to fill a spot. It's this imaginary deadline in the NHL, which is American Thanksgiving. You either know if you're a contender, a pretender, or just cash it in. So we're going to see some play. We have, like we mentioned, 15 games tomorrow, none on Thanksgiving, another 14 on Friday. Then we're into the weekend. After this Thanksgiving week, we'll see the players and these teams play, and we'll know who they are. So to your point, Toast, you'll see these guys that are blocking shots. You'll see more of the bangers come out. You'll see kind of guys gearing up for that playoff because they know that's where they're at. Doesn't mean you're dead in the water. You could pull off a miracle like Nashville did yesterday and pull off 18, 19 wins and make it in the playoffs. But it's always that kind of imaginary line in the sand, so to speak, that beyond American Thanksgiving, that's where the standings are kind of the teams are what they are. Your identity then. The flash in the pans are just that they're out, and then your Dallas, your Torontos, those top teams, they stand out. So a good time to get on top of these bangers now and just throw them in the lineup when you can.
Yeah, Tosa, let's talk about your team. 6-0 start. You finally took one on the chin last week, your first loss of the season. You got a comfortable lead right now. We talked about Aaron, how he finally made that big comeback with Ovechkin playing awesome. We were going to talk about him last week, and of course he goes down with the injury. He's going to be out for a while. I know me and you, just before that happened, we were talking about what a tear he was on and how we were talking about preseason betting show, like, take the over goals this year for him. Like, he's going to get there. He's going to put it up. He was just on fire. Just felt so good about that bet. And that's the one thing that'll get you on these season long ones is injuries. If injuries come up, they just burn you. That's got to be tough for you, Toast.
Yeah. Honestly, if he comes back, and he's never been injured. I mean, he's just Ovi's never been hurt. Not that I can actually remember anyway. They said 4 to 6 weeks for this fibula fracture. My guess is it'll be closer to 4. He'll come back in a month. He's going to lose a month, which means he's probably going to end up losing 11 games, 10, 11 games. The tear he was actually on last season and actually going into this season, I still think he can do it. He still get to the 43 goals, which is insane. But I mean, what's he at? 17 now? 16, 17? I mean, he was just clicking them, man. I mean, and they're gonna miss him. They had a big win last night, and they get a 3-2 win last night, I believe. And that's one of their first couple games actually without Ovi. And they just need to right the ship until he gets back. They've been one of the surprise teams of the season. But JT, I think it's no surprise that I love this segment we have called, Let's Bang, Baby, because bangers leagues are the best. They're awesome. Yeah. So this would be a segment where, Aaron and I will actually bring up and actually talk about a couple of banger guys that we actually like. They're just kind of laying in the weeds there. And I don't know if he's actually laying in the weeds, but one of the guys I actually want to talk about is Will Cooley for the Rangers. So here's why Cooley is such a great banger league player. This year, he's pacing for 349 hits. He's at 85 hits so far, but he doesn't do much else in the peripheral categories. He's only got 9 blocks. He got 10 PEMs. And all of that in 20 games, right? But the 85 hits is huge. That kind of outweighs the hits or the lack of blocks and PEMs, right? There's so many hits. But here's why I like Cooley. And again, you're always looking for those bangers who actually hits, but they also actually shoot the puck and sometimes actually get lucky. And Cooley's that guy this year. He's got 9 goals. 9 goals, 8 assists, 17 points in 20 games for a banger. It's crazy. 37 shots on goal. So he's shooting at a 25% clip. That's not going to last. But right at why it's hot. If you're actually just looking to pick up a guy in a bangers like this hits, this is your guy. My guess is he's already actually picked up. But if he's not, get him. He's only 55% rostered in Fantrax right now. I mean, so if you're in a Fantrax league, half the leagues he's actually out there still. He's getting great deployment right now. They're actually putting him online too with Mika Zibanejad. That's pretty good. Not bad at all. He's centering power play too as well. He doesn't get a whole lot of power play time. But here's what I love about him. Only 22 years old. Drafted 60th overall in a 2020 draft. And he actually had 13 goals last year and a cup of coffee with the big club, but he was only doing that with 11 minutes of time on ice last year. And a year before that in the AHL in 22-23, he had 25 goals in 69 games. So if you can actually score when you're that young in the AHL, being a 20 or 21-year-old, and hitting like he actually hits, this guy, man, he's a great bangers league addition. I mean, and right now, you look at New York, they're wanting to shake things up. I mentioned that before. You're going to actually see. It's been rumored right now that Chris Kreider, their longest tenured player on the forward group, there may be on the move, and they're looking to shake things up. They don't like the makeup of this team, and if that ends up happening, you got a young guy like Cooley who's actually overperforming right now. But is he? Is he overperforming? I mean, if you look at his AHL stats and and how young he actually is and what he did last year coming to this year, maybe this is who he is. He can just do a little bit of everything. I call him maybe a little bit of a mini Brady Tkachuk, but not as good, if that makes any sense at all. But this is a guy you need to go get in Bangers League, man. He's caught everybody by surprise, and with 350 hits, man. And if he even scores 20 goals in the entire season, you can't beat that.
Yeah, he's currently top 20 in our league in scoring. And to say where he's at just compared to everybody else, right near him in scoring, Jesper Bratt, who we just talked about, Kyle O'Connor, Sam Bennett, Jack Eichel, Matt Boldy. Those are the guys right around him in our league in scoring, and you're going to have to give those guys a lot to get those guys. So that tells you kind of where he's playing at in a Bangers League right now for us. Top 20 overall scoring. Pretty fantastic right now, and he's a lot younger than every one of those other guys we just mentioned.
Yeah. This is we could actually have mentioned Will Cooley even in our dynasty discussion we'll actually have here in a bit, because he fits the mold there, man. He's not a prospect anymore. He's actually made his way into the league, but this is a guy that people are going to wish they actually had on their squad, especially in a Bangers League.
Anybody else you guys want to talk about in the Let's Bang Baby segment? Anybody, Aaron, you got or anything? Or are we ready to move on to the next one?
No, I think we're ready to move on.
All right. Hey, let's get into the future is bright. Let's talk about here just some of the guys we've got that we like for the future. You know, these guys talked about the Bangers League. Now we want to talk about some of these guys that we're saying, hey, let's, where are these guys going in the future? Who's the dynasty guys we want? Maybe some of the younger guys coming up. Some of the guys that are in the minors that you want to keep an eye on that might get eligible here pretty soon, depending on what type of league you are. I know in our dynasty league, we have a select number of minor league spots where guys are eligible, or you can move guys up and down. Anybody jumping out on you guys here as far as the future is bright segment?
Yeah, I've got a couple. So keeping it kind of what I plan to do with this segment, again, like Toast said, love these new segments, love how we've kind of got things, and again, providing consistency week to week. So kind of what I've done is taken on, going to each major junior Canadian league, looking at NCAA, because there's three Canadian league junior leagues. There's NCAA. Then you can get a pretty deep dive into some of these, the under 17 leagues and those types of things, but just kind of keeping it with
WHL and
kind of keeping it with leagues that I'd say for the most part we're all familiar with, and what used to be the major pipeline, the Canadian junior leagues. But I started with the OHL, Ontario Hockey League. Two names jump out here, and now these guys have not been drafted on teams, but they're going to go. Got one guy here listed in the top 10 of prospects across the board, but I think he could contend top 5 spot. And then another guy that was actually the first overall pick in the 2024 OHL draft. But first guy OHL to keep an eye on. So those of you specifically like us in these deeper dynasty leagues, or even redraft to that point. I mean, you might want to sprinkle a rookie in here, even if you're redrafting. But Michael Misa, he's in the OHL right now. He's setting the league on fire. He's got 46 points in 23 games. Plays for the Saginaw Spirit. But with that 46 points, which is great, 2 points a game, he's also a plus 21. You think, oh well, plus 20. That's it's OHL is a high scoring, high flying league. So he's getting that two-way game already. So not only is he scoring, putting the puck in net, passing the puck, he's back checking too. And that's what the NHL cares. But NHL couldn't care less about these fantasy stuff that we do. They want a winner, they want a two-way center. That's what a GM's wet dream. This guy fits the mold. 6'1", 185 pounds. I think he's going to go top 5 again. Right now, as it stands, he's projected as a top 10 or top 15, but he's just had a tremendous year in the OHL. And then the second guy that I mentioned, again, the first overall pick for last year's OHL draft, Ethan Belchets. He's a defenseman, much like Alex Vlasic, who plays on our beloved Hawks, who I just talked about is just getting in the way of shots. This guy's about the same body type, 6'5", 230 pounds at 16 years old, this kid.
Wow.
16 years old, 6'5", 230 pounds. Is he done growing? I don't know. I mean, what is he going to be, 7'1"? I mean, who is this kid? And he was the first overall pick. He's got that length, that frame. Now, his point production, he's known as an offensive defenseman. First year, again, he's 16. He's playing in the OHL. 15 points in 18 games, but he's getting every game he gets a little bit more ice time. So he's got some seasoning to do. He should, I think, I'd have to check him, just look at his birth date, but I believe he's eligible for the 2025 draft. If he is, he'll probably move up the charts pretty quickly at that makeup, and he can play the game very well. So again, those are the two guys that jump out to me in the OHL. One a defenseman, the other guy Misa, just looks like he's I don't think he'll go 1 overall. I think what's his name, Hagen or whatever his name is has that wrapped up, but he could go top 5. And again, I kind of hoping the Hawks maybe drop a few more. You never know. But anyway, last guy I'm going to mention, he's in the NHL, so it isn't any big thing. But so I'm kind of breaking the rule a little bit. I'm going out of the OHL. I can't remember if he's on your team, Toast, or not. I'd have to look. But Igor Chinakov, from again, go with the theme here, the Columbus Blue Jackets. Did you draft him?
He's in on me and JT's Dynasty League. But I believe that is going to be Daler. Daler actually has him. I have Marchenko. Yeah, I mean, there's too many Russians on that team.
They're hard.
Yeah.
Another Russian Revolution. What's going on here? But you're the Russian
Columbus,
guy,
man. Yeah.
But this guy,
Columbus.
Chinakov, the reason why he jumps out is this is what brought me up to introduce me to Marty Necas. He's right now, so the advanced analytics, the edge, as they call it, the edge statistics, he's got 11 speed bursts at over 22 miles an hour. Okay. So he's right there with McDavid, with Necas, with McKinnon. He has topped out his shot at 96.3 miles an hour. He's had 4 shots on net, over 90 miles an hour, and one time he hit the 100. He hit the century mark. 13 points in 20 games. That doesn't really jump out at the page, but right now he's power play 2 and second line with Fantilli. We all know who Fantilli is. Second overall pick on the year Bedard. That Bedard was picked. Adam Fantilli went second. So he's skating with a young guy. So you got the young blood, you got the resurgence, and Chinakov is right there. But the two stats, his skate speed and his shot speed, those turn into breakaways. Those turn into tipped and deflected goals. I'm pretty excited about this guy, and I didn't know Daler had him. I thought you had him. Well, I guess it doesn't really matter. I don't have him. Hats off to you and JT for picking up this guy in your other league. But yeah, he's I like him a lot.
Yeah, love that pick.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Toast. I'm glad we got him. It's nice. We'll keep him on the roster there. I'm not gonna get rid of that guy anytime soon. We'll keep him keeping things warm. Anybody else you guys got here in the futures bright before we jump on to our last segment of the night?
Oh yeah, I'm definitely gonna get my guy in here.
All right, jump
JT,
in there,
but
Toast.
hey, Nick Lardis for the Brantford Bulldogs in the OHL. Drafted 67th overall by the Blackhawks in the 2023 NHL draft. Same year as Bedard. 19 years old in OHL. And again, OHL doesn't really tell you everything, right? A lot of guys tear up the OHL. But he's got 23 goals so far in 22 games, and actually put that with 13 assists as well. I like the fact that he's shooting 18.7% this year. You're like, it's a little bit high, but he's a career in the OHL at shooting 17.1%. So he's kind of right on par. I like that. He's on pace to have his best goal production of his career, and that goal production has increased in the OHL every single season. Another good caveat with him is 15 of his 23 goals this year are at even strength. So it's not like he's just eating on the power play, man. 5'11", 170 pounds, so he's undersized, right? So we got Frank Nazar as a Hawk, actually coming as an undersized forward. Bedard's actually an undersized forward, but Bedard actually plays bigger than that. I can tell you guys that. I mean, he's strong as an ox. So Lardis actually played for Team Canada in the under 18 World Juniors in 2023, and as a 17-year-old, he had 4 goals in 7 games. I mean, so really like his pedigree. I want to read something that actually Dauber. I trust Dauber quite a bit. So I'm going to read the breakdown on Lardis on Dauber. High upside. This was written in January of 23. So this was actually before that he got drafted. And again, so take this for what it's worth. He's actually really exceeded expectations. He's actually on a more higher trajectory than actually what he was drafted at. But high upside, low floor, with a versatile set of above average tools, okay, including a powerful shot, but lack of defensive engagement, as we can kind of see with these younger and smaller frame guys. Doesn't have a lot of physicality, and he does not actually tend to actually win puck battles. Okay, so you kind of take it what he is. Again, he's a guy who has a really hard shot. He's a forward, actually has a nose for the puck. He actually has a nose for the back of the net as well. Fantasy upside is an 8.0 on Dauber. That's very, very high. But the NHL certainty is a 5.0, which means this is a bang or bust type of player. But again, that was written in January of 23. As we actually sit here at the end of 24, I would imagine that the NHL certainty on that player and the fantasy upside is actually only increased on Dauber. He signed a 3-year entry-level contract with the Hawks to start the season. He's only 8% rostered on Fantrax. So you got to think with the Hawks right now, they actually have so much talent at the AHL level, which I love to see. If you have guys producing at the AHL at a very, very young age, they're going to be something in the AHL, right? And that's what Frank Nazar is actually doing right now for the Hawks. He's producing better than a point per game at the AHL. You actually have Cole Gutman, who's another young guy, the Hawks. Is producing, and then Colton Dock. But I would think, given the trajectory and where Lardis is actually going and what statistics he's actually put up, he's going to find his way back in Rockford this year. And when he actually gets with that group with the talent, because I believe they're going to contend, and they're actually going to go deep in the playoffs in the AHL. The Rockford Ice Hogs will. That's going to even be better for him. So let's see what he can actually do in the AHL. But I like, for guys, if you're in a deep dynasty league where you could actually, put 25, 30 minor leaguers on that roster, I would hope that Lardis may be rostered, but again, only 8% on Fantrax. Go see if he's available. If he's available, go pick him up.
I like it. It's always good to know who some of the young guys coming up are. Try to beat the other guys in your league about these guys, especially with drafts coming up and those things in the off season. I always like to, scribble those guys down, keep an eye out for them when they're available, either in a league or if they're guys that haven't been drafted yet, keep an eye out on when they do get drafted. It's always nice to have a couple guys in your back pocket that maybe not everybody else knows about. All right, you guys, are we ready to talk about cats here to finish everything off tonight? So let's get into our kitty segment. Let's talk about category leagues. That's some guys might be killing it for you in cats leagues. I'll start off. If we're going to talk about cats leagues, you got to talk about goalies and Connor Hellebuck. It seems like we talk about him every week in our Bangers League, which we do not give a ton of points for goalies because we try to keep everything a little more even. He is top 10 in our league in scoring right now. He's literally leading the NHL in like every single category there is. So if you're in a Cats league, he is the guy you want. He has been phenomenal as far as the goalie side of things go. Who else is on your guys' list of Cat leagues guys that are playing real well, or somebody you might want to look and go grab because of how well they're playing in Cats right now?
And Hellebuck. Wow, what a goalie! I didn't realize he was top 10. That's awesome.
And I was laughing because our league is not high scoring when it comes to goalies. We just try to make them pretty even. We want to make sure they don't get crushed and get you a bunch of negatives. But the fact that he's top 10 is unbelievable right now.
Well, and JT, he's dominating the Cat league as far as goalies go. You know he is. He's a volume starter. He gets all the starts. He gets all the wins. The save percentage is actually there. The saves are actually there, as well as the amount of saves. I mean, you can't go wrong with a guy like that.
Yeah, I think they played last night, and he got a night off. I turned the channel. It's like
I know it's pretty.
I don't watch many games for the goalie, but he was So I'll find something else to do. But two guys. So my guys are a little bit more deep dive guys for the Cat leagues. Again, the Cat leagues. So these are, maybe you get a point for takeaways, giveaways, or minus a point for a giveaway. Special team points, face-off wins, like you guys mentioned in the save percentage. So two guys that are maybe they're around, maybe they're not, but old man Jordan Stahl, he is a face-off machine. Right now he's at about a 54% tick on his face-off percentages.
Dang.
He's got quite a few. He gets in the circle. He's the guy that they'll put him in the face-off dot, depending on where it is, if it's a defensive zone typically, and then they get his ass off the ice. He just goes in for the draw and then he gets off. So he's not a whole lot of minutes per game, and he's 80 years old. I don't know, but his 54% mark this year. Last year's 58%. He's in rare air there at the 58%. That's Sid Crosby level. So that's your face-off guy. He's going to get you some sneaky points. And then Colton Parenko of my loathed Blues, St. Louis Blues. But the guy's kind of he's up an uptick on takeaways. He's at 14 now, which he's on pace to do his career best, or at least be on par with that. Last year he had 73, but he's putting the puck in the net. But I'd say the biggest thing why Parayko made this list for me, I mean, that's great. That's great stats. His takeaways are tremendous. He never gives the puck up. He's a defense-first defenseman. But Monty going to St. Louis, he's been head coach a lot of those really tough defensive Bruin teams. I think a guy like Parenko, it's gonna be like a hand fits a glove. These two should do well together. So now's the time to go big on him in the Cat leagues. But that's what I got for those guys.
Yeah, nice. And Aaron, I'll follow suit here, and I got one player I want to talk about as we kind of wrap up our last segment here of the discussion we're actually going to have regarding Cats. And I hope everybody likes this format because we really want to be intentional with kind of speaking to every single league format that can be out there. Where we can actually maybe really strike a chord in every single listener. But my player from a categories league perspective is Sean Monahan. And I never really thought I'd actually be saying that, especially Sean Monahan coming over to Columbus. I'm like, wow, that seems like almost like it just, I wouldn't say career killer, but just wasn't excited about that, right? Not that he was actually, he was in Calgary for a long time, and but the reason he came over to Blue Jackets, he wanted to play with his best friend, Johnny Gaudreau. And, we had that tragic event that Johnny Gaudreau actually passed away in the offseason from that auto accident. And Monahan's really playing inspired hockey in my eyes here. And really, honestly, the rest of the Blue Jackets team is. I mean, nobody, they're 9-2 right now. Like, well, that doesn't sound too good. Nobody expected them to actually be 500, and they're actually doing it very, very well. They're scoring the puck, man. They're lighting the lamp. They're getting decent goaltending. They're learning. They're rallying around one another. But here's what Monahan and what I like. 7 goals and 13 assists, 20 points in 20 games. Point per game player so far. And you're like, all right, well, 7 goals, and he's probably got like 25 shots and he's just overproducing? No, he's almost got 60 shots on goal. That's great. That is great. And that's almost 3 shots a game right now. And what's best about Monahan in a cat league is he's 10th in NHL with 207 face-off wins. I want to kind of know, can he get to like 700 face-off wins in a season? He's pacing for that. Mm-hmm. And we talked about his shots on goal as well. He's pacing for 240 shots on goal right now. That is going to obliterate his season average and also his career high. So he's actually found his footing in here, and he's the leader of that team. And you got all the Russians around him, the young Russians, right? But he's the leader of that team. He was only drafted in 21% of the Fantrax leagues, and all right, he's starting to get picked up more and more, but he's still only 68% rostered, which is kind of crazy considering how good the Jacks have been playing. So here's what I really, really love about Monahan, though. And again, this may be a category league downfall, but I kind of see it as a positive, is he's only got 4 power play points so far. Now, a lot of category leagues actually will actually talk about, or they'll actually score, special team points. We doesn't have many of those, right? But Columbus, as good as they've actually been in scoring a puck, I think they're like 8th in the league in scoring. They're in the bottom third of power play percentage, and they've only scored 10 power play goals all year. So that's a great sign, in my opinion, where there's only one way for this guy to actually go, and that's actually up. Wait till that power play starts actually going, and you got the horses to actually carry the power play. I think this Monahan start is one of the best starts in NHL this year. And when you actually look at his goals and assists, so he's going to carry category leagues right now in assists, shots on goal, and faceoffs won. And faceoffs is huge. So Monahan is a great, great player. I'd have to look at his takeaways and giveaways and kind of see where he is at there. My guess is he's probably not great there considering he is a center, so they tend to actually not be great in the takeaway giveaways categories. But Sean Monahan's a guy that if you're in a redraft league, in a categories league, you may want to target him.
Fantastic. Good stuff, fellas. I appreciate it. Thanks, everybody, for watching us. Make sure to follow me at JT Orange, Toast at Toast Clark, and Aaron at Titch4141. Also, make sure to follow us at Fifth Hockey on the X as well, and at Fantasy in Frames. Go ahead, like and subscribe. Look at their page. Go to the YouTube page. Follow us. Get the notifications. You'll get all the shows, not just Around the Ice here, but all our gambling shows, our college football and NFL fantasy shows, as well as all our gambling segment shows, all kinds of stuff for you. I'm sure there's going to be something in there you like as well. Appreciate everybody joining us here. Make sure to check us out next Tuesday night. We'll be back here again, 9:30 Eastern time, 8:30 Central for the fellas. Hope everybody has a good Thanksgiving. Thanks everybody for joining us. We had a great time. We'll see you next week here on Around the Ice on Fantasy and Frames. Check you next time.